can't believe what I'm seeing here. It's not too long ago that I came here. When I entered from the back, I thought I was in Minnesota or some exotic place. But I want us to put our hands together for a leader God has blessed us with. Yes. We know him. We know Bishop Nyati as a pastor, as a great preacher, one of the men God has raised in these end times to push his word to the nations. But I hope you know that he's also a leader God has blessed this nation of Zimbabwe and Africa as a continent with. What we are experiencing here is a masterpiece. And anyone whose life is connected to this should expect to rise, to run, to advance, and to go higher. Bishop, I want to say God bless you for the privilege to be even remotely a part of this great work. Thank you for taking me around when I came here. We went everywhere, even to the roof of the building. And I just can't believe what I'm seeing. Clap your hands once again. And I bring you greetings from my father, Bishop Dagiwad Mills. As a church, we are in a valley of the shadow of death. And I believe we are coming out. Yesterday was one of the lowest days of our lives as a church, when we buried perhaps the finest bishop in the entire Lighthouse Chapel group of churches. And all our children came from him. Pastors, bishops, missionaries were raised by. Over 30 years ago, he was sent to pastor the children. And he obediently followed the instructions. And over 30 years, his ministry has spanned every aspect of church life. And for us to lose him is a very big blow that I don't know when we will recover. And Bishop sent him to Zimbabwe as his choice and choicest gift to this nation. But God has better plans. And I'm believing God that we are going to see major and many returns from this seed that has fallen into the ground. So I am here today. I'm very happy I made it. I began traveling last night, and it's been almost non-stop till here. And I'm happy the Lord has brought me here. I'm happy to share fellowship with you. And I'm happy to see what God is doing here. And I believe that the few days ahead are going to be days of encounters, fellowship, impartations, and the will of God being done in our lives. So clap your hands for Jesus once again. And you may be seated. Today, I don't know if I can get a little bit of sound. I can't hear myself too well here. And even in the house. If I can get a little bit of a push-up. In this want to talk to you about Jesus Christ. And it is sad. There are pastors who don't know Jesus Christ. There are tongue-talking believers who don't know Jesus Christ. There are founders of churches who don't know Jesus Christ. I think the sound is better. Thank you. There are church members sitting on pews who don't know Jesus Christ. When I saw that the theme of this conference is Jesus Christ, I knew that God had hatched a plan to use our pastor and our father to revisit the foundations of our lives. Who is Jesus Christ? Who is Jesus Christ? There are choristers in robes who don't know Jesus Christ. And what is happening is that the body of Christ has been taken hostage by men and women who have not made contact with this Jesus Christ. And that is leading entire generations the edge of the precipice. If you are listening to me this morning, it will help you to assume emptiness. The Bible says that those who were full and rich, he sent them away empty. But the hungry, he has fed with good things. You are going to be fed with good things in this conference, as you are being fed already. And there is nothing better than Jesus Christ, the living Savior, the crucified Savior, the resurrected Savior. Who is Jesus? Who is Jesus? I remember in the 80s, in the mid-80s, one great musician called Andre Crouch, he sang a song titled, Jesus is the Answer. Jesus is the answer. You know, today, can I step down? The Church of God, yes. Please listen very carefully. If you miss a point I am making, it can cost you. I hope you can see me. Yes, thank you very much, Bishop, for the privilege to be here. Today's believer has become sophisticated. Sophisticated Christians who know complex scriptures, know about verses of deliverance from Nahum and Obadiah, sophisticated Christians who have joined the goats to be eating grass. You don't have it here. Where I'm coming from, they eat grass. Very sophisticated Christians who drink oil. And there's nothing wrong with drinking oil if that is your appetite. But you will notice that as we sit here, we are not making any impact in spite of the grass we are eating, in spite of the oil we are drinking and the sand we are collecting in bottles. I'm preaching. We are like skyscrapers without foundations. We know everything that must be known in the superstructure. We know everything. I mean, some of you can found churches. But Paul said, there is no other foundation apart from that which has already been laid. And then he put a colon there and he said, that foundation is Jesus. Jesus is the foundation. Listen to me. Jesus is not only preached at evangelistic crusades. Actually, if there is a place to preach Jesus, it is the church. Jesus is the foundation. The Holy Spirit is not the foundation. You need to meet Jesus before you can fall under the power of the Holy Spirit or vomit frogs and lizards. Many of us sitting here could have done more for the kingdom of God. The Bible says we must not mind high things. High things. The body of Christ now is minding high things. High things. Matters that don't concern us. And we have left the foundation. I know that there are going to be subsequent conferences where great men of God are going to talk about the big things. As for me, I am laying the foundation. Yes. Yes. A lot of us here, if a storm visits you, we will not find you again. If you go through a personal, emotional, financial, family tragedy, we will not find you again. A lot of us are here because you have not even been offended before. If you get offended in this church, we will not find you again. And all these are because there is no foundation. Foundation. Because as for the storms of financial difficulties, storms of offenses and hurts, storms of personal crisis, Jesus promised us storms. He spoke of a house with a foundation and a house without a foundation. And both of them experienced storms and floods and rains. I see you standing after your storm. If there's one tree standing after your storm, may you be the one. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right side, and it must not come nigh thee, because you shall be the house that is standing. Whenever there is a storm, whenever and wherever there is a storm, no matter the level of devastation, there is a house standing in the midst of the devastation. I declare that you shall be the house that is standing. On what ground? Because you are a graduate? Because you have a lot of money? Because you speak good English? You will stand, and we need believers who are standing. The world is not going to be any kinder to you and to me. Paul said, after having done all to stand, stand. Because you can do all to stand, only to fall. That is why I am not making any assumptions. I'm not under any illusions and delusions. Being a pastor doesn't concern me. It doesn't even impress me. There are pastors on the front row who have not read their Bibles today. Today. There are pastors on the front row who have not read their Bibles today. But give them a microphone to preach. Fire will fall and devour the roof. Ladies and gentlemen, as evil is getting sophisticated, righteousness must get sophisticated. As wickedness is bounding and abounding, righteousness, holiness, and Jesus must be strong in us. Who is Jesus? You want to know who Jesus is? He is the answer.
Hallelujah.
Answer to what? Answer to what? Answer to every question of your life. There is no problem you have now that is not traceable to Jesus Christ as a solution. God brought Jesus. In fact, Jesus introduced himself as the way, the truth, and the life. John 14. The way to what? The way, if it's a way, if it's the way to what? And those who don't have anything to do here on earth and are in a hurry to go to heaven will say Jesus is the way to heaven. It's true. It's 1000% true. There's no religion. There's no deity through whom you can get to heaven. There is a place called heaven. In both the Old Testament and the New Testament, heaven is a very major theme. In fact, that heaven is even the source of everything you have. A man can receive nothing except it comes from above. There's a place called above. And it's my prayer that you and I will get there. But ladies and gentlemen, Jesus is not the way to only heaven. is the way to the original life God meant you to live. If all Jesus came to do was to usher us to heaven, then when we get born again, we should fall down and die. Every church must have a coffin shop by it. You get born again, you fall down, you die, you enter the coffin and you are buried. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Christ has got more use for your life than to take you to heaven. You have no idea whether you are a pastor or you are a reverend, you are a church leader, you are an ordinary Christian. You have no idea how your life is very different from what it ought to have been. As your life as it is now. Jesus said, but from the beginning, it was not so. I need pastors to wake up, sit up. The life we are living, you see, he is the way to what? To what? To God's original will for your life. This is not how you should be living. This is not how your ministry ought to be. Jesus is the answer. He's the answer to your way out of your current rut. Many of us are stuck. Christians are stuck. Some of you have been in this church for over 10 years. You have not risen above the level of an ordinary church member. Shame on you. When in school, you move from class 1 to class 2 to class 3. When in school, you move from first year to second year. When in your work, you are being promoted from grade 1 to grade 2 to grade 3. The only place where there is stagnation is your spiritual life, which is your original life. But from the beginning, money, even what God has allowed in your life may not be what he originally. No, there's a way you can twist the hand of your father. So if you want it, you can have it. Moses allowed them. But once you can produce a bill to divorce your wife, you can divorce her. But Jesus said, but from the beginning. That Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 beginning is the best part. You know, that Hebrew word is a very, very, very important word. In the beginning. In the beginning. If I can have Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Do we have scriptures? In the beginning, God created the heavens. And that word, the Hebrew is reshit. Reshit. It's not just talking about the start or time zero. That word reshit, the beginning. When Jesus said from the beginning it was not so, it means that word means the best. The word which, this word translated beginning means the best, the chiefest. You know, as time rolls by, we deviate innocuously and slowly away from God's original path. Before you know it, you are so far from God's original path for your life. Who is Jesus? He is the way. He is the way to the way your ministry ought to be. That it is not. He's the way to the way your marriage ought to be. That it is not. That is only left with public presentations. He's the way. He is the way to the normalization of the lives of your children. Jesus is truly the way, not only to heaven, but to the real life you ought to be living. There's somebody in the middle there. The Lord is telling me, you are working in a good top place. Not top, but a few steps from the top. A few steps below a CEO. Some in the middle there. But you are a thief. You are stealing money. You should have been a pastor. But you are not a pastor. You've been around for a long time. Yes. Because if you don't allow Jesus to employ you, Satan will employ you. There is nobody who exists as a body that is filled with only air, vacuum. Either Jesus is filling you or devils are filling you. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Who is Jesus? He's the answer. John 3:16 shows that Jesus is the best God had to solve our problems. He loved the world. John 3:16. He so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Why? That anyone who believes in him should not perish. That word perish is not a car accident or a building falling on you. That word perish is in relation to only one thing. It's not even perish financially. Beware of another gospel. There's a gospel called another gospel. The only reason Jesus Christ came here was for you not to perish under the weight of your sin. You know, your problem is not because you are not educated. Your problem is not because you are not a pretty girl. Your problem in life is not because your parents are not rich. If you have a problem in life, it is traceable to sin. S-I-N. It is one of the sin is more powerful than a nuclear bomb. A lot of what we are blaming as the cause of our problems is not true. If you are not happy in your marriage, you can point to your husband. You can point to your wife. Or anything you point to apart from sin is a secondary, tertiary, quaternary problem. Your original problem is your sin. And from sin, we go to husband. It's your sinful nature that made you choose the wife you chose. On face value, I understand that your unhappiness is because of the wife you have. I know that one, because if we come to live in your house we will see a man being badly treated. We can flip it. We can see a woman being badly treated. A lot of married men are bushmen. Bushmen who don't know how to take care of a woman. A woman. Yes. Yeah. Some married men here are bushmen. Yes. Are you angry with me? I'll take you to the scriptures. So when we come to your house, we can tell that no, this woman is the source of your pimples, of your problems. But that is the superficial, one-step logic answer. We have to ask ourselves, how did you come by that woman? If we get the pictures, we will see that when you chose her, her breasts were juicier than they are now. Instead of using spiritual algorithms to choose a wife, your sinful nature made you use breasts and buttocks to choose a woman. Now look at you. Look at you. You are married away. If you had been spiritual, you would have looked beyond the color of her skin. I'm preaching. I know that your problem is because you don't have a job. That is why you have a financial crisis. So that's, see, always there's what is the superficial reason? Yes, you're not working because you don't have a degree, you don't have qualification, so you don't have money. But if you go deep, you notice that there is a sin. There is a sin clause in the, what in medicine we call it etiology, the cause. Some of you, school fees were paid and didn't go to school because your flesh wanted to just walk about stealing mangoes and stealing from people's farms instead of sitting down. It's your nature, your nature. Your husband is slapping you. Your husband is beating you. I'm surprised he's not even beating you more. Because that man, when you saw him, you look at his shoe size to choose him. I'll stop preaching. You see, I'm saying that, listen, I'm preaching about Jesus Christ. And I'm saying that your problems in life, they are ultimately traceable to sin. Not money. Not a degree. You say it's because you are not a pretty girl. You are lying. There are women with worse faces than you, but they are wearing wedding rings. Your problem is not your face. Your problem is the sin nature, which manifests in rudeness, which manifests in laziness. As a woman, you can't even get up and take your bath as a woman. Some of you have not had your bath as you are here. It's, say sin, sin. Say after me, sin. It's my only problem. It's a part of us. It's a part of me. Can you see me? Yeah. You are looking at sin wearing a shirt. Paul said, for in me, that is in my flesh lieth no good thing. No good thing. That is why God sent. God didn't send Jesus to give you accommodation. He didn't send Jesus to give you a job. He didn't send Jesus to give you a husband. He didn't send Jesus to give you a wife. He sent Jesus to solve your sin problem. Any other attribution is another gospel. You are preaching something else. Because even his name, Matthew 1:21. Matthew 1:21. His name. That's the name. And she will bring forth a son. And you will save his people. He will save his people from their poverty. I said poverty. He will save his people from their lack of education. No. What was Jesus sent to save us from? What is the meaning of his name, Jesus? What is the meaning? Savior. Saving us from what? Is there in English? He knows you are poor. He knows you need a husband. He knows your church must grow. God knows that there is load shedding in your area. He should have sent Jesus Christ to save us from load shedding. Maybe you don't have it here, but we have it where I'm coming from. When I say something which doesn't happen yet, it's okay. My dear friend, sin. Are there pastors here? Or they will come this evening? Are there pastors in the conference? There are pastors in the conference now. You know why your church is not growing? It's sin. 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 Look at a father God has given you. Even in America, they can't do this. If you see this in America, there is a bank behind it. Hello? You don't seem to understand what I'm saying. Do you understand me? Yes. You have a father like this, whose works are evident. He is in his church. You can clap your hands. Having 7 services on a Sunday. You are a pastor of a branch. To even follow him and humble yourself, because one of the manifestations of sin in us is pride. I have a 10-month-old granddaughter. She did something and I just smacked her. And I was just giving her something. She said, 10 months. I said, look at it. Your pride doesn't make you even want to preach his messages. Your pride, and that's why your church, can't you see? The figures you send to the headquarters, they are fake, they are cooked up. They are like spaghetti cooked up. They're not real figures. Your church is going down. Can't you see your church is going down? Yeah. Books and works by your sin nature that makes you big and inflated like a balloon full of only air. No substance. When you stand and you are preaching, you are just farting gas. Gas. You are farting gas. You can't even preach. Look at you. You have been a pastor in this ministry for the past 15 years. You can't preach. Why? Why can't you preach? Because you lack good English, or you don't read your Bible. Your rebellion has locked you and limited the boundaries of your ministry. When I'm preaching about Jesus, sit up. Don't think I'm preaching to new converts. If anybody needs Jesus, it is you who needs Jesus. He's the answer. He's the answer to your preaching. How to preach well. I'm not a founder. Bishop Colin is a father to me. He's a father. He has only out of humility condescended to a man of my low estate. It is his condescension that has brought me here. He is a father, not just an ordinary father. These are kingdom fathers. And you have him as your father. But your madness, your madness has robbed you of your colorful destiny. I'll say it again. One of the manifestations of sin is pride. There. When was the last time you held your pastor's book and you were preaching from it? I'm asking a question in English. English language question. When? Say, are you a pastor? Where? Here? Johannesburg. Stand up. When was the last time you held your pastor's book? Point after point. Making a point. I'll not even give you a chance to go to hell. We need you in heaven. So I won't push you to lie. There are Harvest House pastors who are not here. I've not gone to the office to see the sheet. There are pastors in this church who are not here. You want to dare me? Should I call for the list of pastors who should be here and do a road check? Go and give me the list. Let me do a road check right now. You won't do well. You will not do well. Because you have not allowed your sin nature to be impacted by Christ. John 1 verse 12. What do we do with Jesus? Yes, he came to save us from our sins. So what? So what should we do? What should we do? No, ask your neighbor. So what should we do about Jesus? Is there? John chapter 1 verse 12. But as many as received him, to them he gave, and this is New King James, to them he gave the right to become the children of God. Yeah. I'm now landing. I feel I'm landing. I can feel my thighs have touched the tarmac. He gave them the rights. You have no right. You have no right. Kakatusa mahande kataba. Shabandus Kiba. I'm preaching about Jesus Christ. Yeah. In your context. For Jesus to affect you, you need to do two things. John 1:12.